Hi, everybody. It's Amanda from upstate New York, and I am listening to the podcast and the woman talking about sleepwalking naked and teenage boys passing, and it reminded me of my own similar experience. I was very young, and a group of us went tubing on a river up here, and we towed gin and tonics in the water behind us, and a lot was drank, and when we finished, I had to use the bathroom, but we're in the middle of the woods, and so they said, just go in the woods and go. And I said, I can't do that. Like, people might see me because it's a crowded place. Yeah. So I stumbled through the woods until I felt like I was in a safe enough place to go to the bathroom while in my bathing suit and not be seen. So I had a one piece on, and I pulled the suit down around my ankles, and I'm, crouched down so I could use the bathroom. And I thought, okay, I'm enough in the woods. No one's going to find me. This is perfect. And then the next thing I hear this car horn honking. And I look up, and it's a convertible filled with teenage boys. Oh. And I had walked so far into the woods to avoid people that I actually ended up on the side of a highway, and I had enough gin and tonics that I didn't realize that's where I was. So there I was, basically on the side of a highway, crouched down with my bathing suit around my ankles. So, oh wow, I haven't thought about that in so many years. So thank you to that caller for that memory. Bye.
You know what's amazing? This is two now. Women caught by carloads of teenage boys. Y'all were teenage boys. Did you ever luck across anything like this when you were driving around as a kid?
No.
I hoped, but no.
And where are those teenage boys now that were?
They're telling that. I can tell you, they're telling that story. Hey, I'm going to do I want to do an invitation, and I want you to tell me who I'm doing. You really shouldn't be drinking while you're tubing on a river. Who am I?
Thank you, your wet blanket, Bob. And you know what? That's an important public service. That is an important public service. You probably shouldn't be drinking and tubing. Thank you, Max, for calling that into the room. Wow. You know, the phrase carload of teenage boys is uniquely American. Think about it, because of our car culture. Like, you never hear, I'm all over the news every single day of my life, all over the world. I have never seen like a story out of Belgium or Dublin or Abu Dhabi that included the phrase a carload of teenage boys. That is such an American thing. Did you do that when you were a kid? Cruise around with your buddies?
Yeah, yes. But they didn't own a convertible. The car we were hanging out in was like an old Buick that had one of those vinyl tops, but it hadn't been taken care of. And the vinyl top flapped in the wind as we're going down the street.
Yeah. Oh, no. That's all we did was ride around in the car. That's all we did.
That was my brother and his friends. And I told you, Max, that my brother hooked up a PA system to his car. And so they would get baked and drive around and yell insane things out of the car. Would be talking. And my next door neighbor who lived next door to my girl in black hair, she was a very good person. Oh my gosh. She was very, very religious, very involved in her church. She marched over to the house one day and told my grandmother that she needed to do something about my brother and his sin wagon.
I love it.
And here's what my grandmother did with this. She said, Marky, Joan wants you to do something about your sin wagon. And my brother said, let me tell you what to do about my sin wagon. I'm going to call it my sin wagon. And that was what was coming out through the PA.
Instant access to the podcast, fun size, and more with the free Bob and Sheri app.
All right, I got a question for everybody. What's your earliest childhood memory? What's the first thing you can remember as a child?
Helping my mom feed my baby brother solid food. So I might have been 3 or no, 3. Yeah, probably 3. It's a very like fuzzy memory, but it was raining outside and the kitchen, like the inside of the kitchen was the way it looks when it rains. My brother was in a high chair and I was allowed to feed him plum baby food by the spoonful. And I remember it so vividly because it was purple and you know, a 3-year-old shouldn't be feeding a baby because it's messy. It was everywhere, but I remember that so well. What was yours?
My earliest one was sitting around a campfire at the lake, and that's when my Uncle Elmer was making fun of me putting the ketchup on the hamburger, and he said, "Hey, why don't you put some on your head?" And I did, and everybody, that was my. What about you, Max?
Wow. Uncle Elmer, you rascal! Go ahead.
I guess this is why you keep condiments in the car now, in case you want to put it on your head just sort of randomly. I remember my father dressing me in my crib. I remember him taking my bedclothes, and I remember him. That's my very first memory.
Well, I've got this lady. She is 1/100th of a thousandth of the population that remembers every moment since her birth. Her name is Rebecca Sheri. She lives in Australia, and she's got hyperthymesia. And she says, when I was about a week old, I remember being in this pink blanket. I'd always know that it was my mom holding me for some reason. I just instinctively knew that she was my favorite person. She said there is a downside to this, though. Every memory, including the sad ones, she can never forget them. And when she remembers the sad ones, she gets the same stressful feelings that she had. So I hate when I can't remember anything, but this may be a downside.
So in addition to remembering everything, she doesn't have that internal filter that gets rid of those bad things as a coping mechanism. Hey, Doc,
and
I want to know what Doc's first memory was.
What's yours, Doc?
So I remember someone asking me this question recently, and now I can't remember my answer.
Well, you're not suffering from this.
Leave us a talk back with the free Bob and Sheri app.
This is Veronique from New Brunswick, Canada. I've been a long-time listener, and it's my first time leaving a message, and I love the show. I was listening to Sheri talking about silent lunch at her kids' school as a punishment, and it unlocked an old memory. When I was in elementary school, back in the 80s, every lunch was silent lunch. We were not allowed to talk at all in the cafeteria, their excuse being that we could choke on our food, which, by the way, was horrible. The lunch ladies were not really good cooks. Anyway, if we were caught talking, they would put our name on the board, and the next day, they would make us wait in the hall, facing the wall, until the whole school was served lunch. Then we could go in and get our food with just a few minutes left to eat. I'm a talker. I still am, so I spent a lot of time looking at that wall. That's what I wanted to say today. So I love you guys. Bye.
Oh my God, Lamar, your face would have melted into the wall. So I just have to say that seems cruel and unusual to make children have silent lunch every day and then to stand them facing a wall if they talk. Doesn't that seem like, what school were you going to? That seems harsh.
Sheri, that'd be a Catholic school.
No, I'm sure. Like,
I mean,
we kick Catholic school to the curb a lot around here.
I know.
But,
I know.
Yeah.
But doesn't that sound like something that would happen at a Catholic school?
It really does. You know what that sounds like? It sounds like a school that was put together and operated by people who had never met a human child and had never been a human child themselves.
Yeah.
Because kids, you ask them to sit still in their desks and keep quiet and do all of this work, and they have to line up and they're hyper regimented. And then it's lunchtime where they could finally like relax and be a little social and be kids and have fun. But no, that's just wrong, isn't it?
It was more important to be silent. And then we wonder why they get in relationships and can't communicate, you know?
That's just crazy to me to think about doing, like, they don't do that to people in prison unless you're in like a supermax prison. There's a supermax penitentiary in Colorado.
Right.
What's the name of it? We talked about it recently on a True Weird episode. And the people there, they are the scariest and worst criminals of the worst. And they spend their entire time in confinement, life sentences, no chance of parole. Some of them in these solitary cells where they're monitored 24 hours. Everything they do is regimented. Every breath they take is regimented.
It's ADX Florence.
Thank you. They get like an hour a day outside of that cell, but it's not social. You have to earn the right to be moved into a unit where you're allowed to talk to other inmates. Every day is silent lunch. Every day is silent. How do you not lose your mind in a setting like that? Now, we're doing this to people like the mastermind of the World Trade Center bombings. Okay, these are the people that are there. Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, was there. Who are some of the other?
The guy that was the Atlanta Olympic bomber, Eric
the
Rudolph.
Olympic bomber. Yeah, he's there.
Terry Nichols is there. He was involved with the Oklahoma City bombing. Spooky Mahoof, who was the guy that tried to light his shoe on fire that they caught.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Richard
Reed,
Ramirez. Richard. It was Richard Reed.
Richard Reed. Ramirez was the
Reed,
Night Stalker.
Right.
I get my killers confused.
Yeah.
But
It's another killer.
The point I'm making is we have decided that the very worst and most dangerous people amongst us, this is how they are to be treated. Let's apply that to children. Do you see how insane that sounds?
Sign up for our newsletter. We never spam you.
Never did.
Get Bob and Sheri exclusives. Just go to bobandsheri.com.
Mouth tape. Yeah. I know Lamar's
For
going,
snoring?
wait,
For snoring?
no way I'm taping this mouth shut. This mouth is getting used.
Mouth tape. No, I don't know what it is.
Mouth tape. So what it is mouth tape, and it's a multi-gazillion-dollar business. It's all over like the internet. It's all over TikTok. If you search TikTok under the hashtag mouth tape, you'll see some crazy stuff. There are ads on Facebook and Instagram. And now that I'm saying this, I apologize to all of you with great sincerity. Now you will be seeing mouth tape ads because your phone just heard me say it. The claims are that if you tape your mouth shut at night, you're going to lose weight. You're going to be better looking. You're going to have a more snatched jawline. You're going to be healthier. You're going to get better sleep. There's a company called Hostage Tape that made $40 million last year selling people special tape to tape their mouth shut at night. And I just want to pause here and tell you that I think this is crazy and bogus. But the fact that somebody made $40 million selling special tape to people to close their mouth, you have to stand up and give that entrepreneur a round of applause because that's really impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the deal. Doctors and sleep experts say many of the claims about mouth tape are frankly bonkers. There's no research to show that taping your mouth closed does much of anything, and it's dangerous for some people. So when you tape your mouth shut, and some people who don't want to pay full price for like special mouth tape are using that kinesiology tape, that you see people wearing on muscle injuries and stuff when they run.
Right.
Because when you put that tape on your skin, you're able to take it off without like tearing your face up the way, duct tape would. So people that are doing this, it forces you to breathe through your nose. And that's what these mouth taping loonies say creates the benefits. When you breathe through your nose, it triggers something called nitric oxide in your nose, in your nasal cavity, which defends you against like inhaled pathogens and bacteria and viruses. And nitric oxide relaxes blood vessels and lowers your blood pressure. So they said when you breathe out through your nose, 75% of that nitric oxide is recycled in your nose. But if you breathe out through your mouth, that nitric oxide is lost. Meanwhile, doctors and sleep experts are saying, well, that's just bonkers and nuts and a bunch of BS. And also, if you tape your mouth closed and your nose is congested, do you have gills? Excuse me, do any of you have gills to breathe through?
You're going to die.
Yeah. Yeah. They said that like with kids, children who breathe through their mouth, it can cause changes to their face. Like it can make their chin recede and their teeth push forward.
No.
And so a neurologist named Dr. Chris Winter said, yeah, but that's like less than 2% of the entire population on Earth. You should not, and I want to say this very clearly, do not tape your children's mouths shut when they sleep. And if you have any, like, if you're going,
to jail.
but, I want you to imagine sitting across from Josh Mankiewicz on Dateline and explaining to Josh why you was taping your baby's mouth shut. How's that going to go? Lamar, how's that going to go?
Yeah. Is it true you taped his mouth shut? Does that seem right to you? I mean, that's so God. I'd love to see him do that. Yeah. God.
It seems like a punishment in social studies class when you can't stop talking in fifth grade. I mean, I looked at it online. It looks like a breathe right strip that goes in the center of your mouth. So it's not like you don't have it across your whole mouth like you're a hostage.
A bunch of doctors and dentists and health organizations have come forward and said, don't do this. Mouth taping is an unregulated industry. No one's doing anything to stop it. Do not tape your mouth closed at night.